The coronavirus death toll has now surged to over 3,000 across the world. At the moment, close to 88,000 people are infected globally. Mainland China has reported 42 new deaths, 202 new cases. All the cases are from the virus epicenter, Hubei province. But the good news here somewhat is that around 40,000 people have now been cured. The World Health Organization has said that this is the result of early trial of virus isolation, testing kits and clinical diagnosis all put in place. South Korea has now confirmed 586 new cases in the last 24 hours. This brings the infected toll to a whopping 4,000 cases. 87% of those new cases have been found in southeastern city of Daegu, which is about 300 kilometers southeast of the capital, Seoul. South Korea has been the worst affected outside mainland China. The prevention and control efforts against the epidemic have been tightened across the country. Meanwhile, parts of the world recording first cases of the virus. The Caribbean country of Dominican Republic has also confirmed its first case. The infected patient is of Italian descent. Dominican Republic is the fourth South American country to be affected after Ecuador, Brazil and Mexico. Ecuador has reported 5 new cases and Indonesia has also confirmed its first coronavirus case. Egypt's health ministry has confirmed a second case of the virus. Meanwhile, Pakistan has been conducting mandatory thermal screening of all the passengers who are now entering the country. And joining us on the broadcast this minute is our correspondent Jessica King, live from Paris. Jessica, first up, help us better understand the measures that have been put in place across France and across the region, given how the number of infected cases have only been surging over the last 48 hours.
Yes, they have. Here in France, we've now seen 130 cases of the coronavirus. 2 people have died here in France over the past couple of weeks. One was a Chinese tourist, an elderly man, and the other was the first French national who died from the virus. We know that on Sunday as well, 2 children are thought to be infected with the virus, aged 1 and 5. So certainly this is causing a lot of concern for the French government. A number of measures that they've put in place are to ban gatherings of more than 5,000 people and a number of events cancelled. The Paris half marathon was due to take place yesterday. That was cancelled. And the Louvre, which is the world's most visited museum here in Paris, that was closed yesterday and remains closed today. And that was because the staff and management there felt that they were there were not enough measures to protect them. Of course, you know, they have millions of visitors every year, tens of thousands daily, and many of the visitors come from all over the world. So there is a real impact here in France, and we've heard from the finance minister here this morning saying that the economic impact may be much bigger than expected. It was initially forecast to see a 0.1% reduction in growth, but that may be even more severe. And of course, you know, this is a situation that is being reflected across Europe, and particularly in Italy, the sort of epicenter of the outbreak in Europe, where, you know, that the numbers there have jumped to over 1,600 cases.
Right, and speaking in more detail about the areas in France that are now under lockdown, Jessica, apart from the tourist spots, give us a better sense of which areas we're talking about.
Well, there's the Oise area, which is just outside Paris, which was one of the sort of clusters, and the cases that we found out over the weekend were in Strasbourg, so that is an eastern city of France. So where those particular sort of hotspots are, of course, that is where the government is focusing their attention, and they've even said that in the sort of hardest hit zones, they even want to look at cancelling sort of religious services, so anything that attracts crowds, you know, of gathering of people who are all sort of contained in one room. Of course, they've got this ban on gatherings of 5,000 people or more, but in the hardest hit areas that could be even more severely shut down. Of course, in northern Italy, we've seen whole towns on lockdown where those, really strong outbreaks have happened, where we've seen those spikes in numbers. And it's just, a very confusing time for people. And they've seen, a lot of supermarkets being empty. They've seen the streets, very quiet. And I think people are just waiting to see what happens. Of course, the spike in China has dropped. And I think now it's sort of, affecting the rest of the world. Italy has been in this situation for a while now. And I think people are just waiting to see how long this could potentially go on for.
All right, we're going to leave it there for the moment. Jessica King, thanks very much for all of those updates.